Your baby is crying again. Your baby is crying again. And you have already tried everything. You fed them, you changed them, you held them, you rocked them, you walked around the house at 2 in the morning, whispering things you don't even remember saying. And they are still crying. And somewhere in the back of your exhausted mind, a quiet fear starts to form. What if I'm missing something? What if my baby is trying to tell me something and I just don't understand? You are not missing something because you are a bad mother. You are missing something because nobody told you that your baby's cry is not random noise. It is a language, a real, structured, scientifically documented language. And once you understand how it works, everything changes. Here is what the research actually shows. In the early 2000s, an Australian woman named Priscilla Dunstan made a discovery that would be studied, debated, and eventually validated by researchers around the world. Dunstan had a photographic memory for sound, and after months of listening obsessively to her own newborn, she identified 5 distinct sounds that appeared consistently before babies began to cry, not during the cry, but in the first seconds before it escalated. 5 sounds, 5 meanings, the same across cultures, across countries, across languages, because these sounds are not learned. They are reflexive. They come from the body before the brain has any say in the matter. The first sound is neigh. You will hear it as a short nasal syllable at the very start of a fuss. It comes from the sucking reflex, the tongue pushing up against the roof of the mouth as the baby prepares to feed. When your baby says neigh, they are hungry. Not maybe hungry, not possibly hungry. Hungry right now. The second sound is odiodiush. It sounds almost like a yawn folded into a cry. That is because it literally comes from a yawn, the mouth forming an oval as the body signals fatigue. When you hear olu, your baby is tired. They are not fighting sleep because they don't want it. They are asking for help getting there. The third sound is ha. It is breathy and slightly agitated, and it comes from a feeling of physical discomfort, skin irritation, an awkward position, a diaper that needs changing, a tag on a onesie pressing against soft skin. When you hear ha, something is bothering your baby physically, and they need you to find it. The fourth sound is the air. It is lower, grumbly, and comes from deep in the belly. It signals gas or digestive discomfort. The lower abdomen is contracting. Something is moving through the gut that does not feel right yet. When you hear air, your baby needs to be burped, or needs gentle belly pressure, or simply needs time for the gas to pass. The fifth sound is a short, sharp, and slightly urgent. It comes from the chest, specifically from the reflex of needing to burp. Not gas in the belly, but air trapped higher up. When you hear a, hold your baby upright and pat their back. That is what they are asking for. 5 sounds. Neigh, ow, ha, air, a. And here's the part that matters most. These sounds only work in the first few weeks of life, in those precious seconds before the cry fully escalates. Because once a baby crosses into a full cry, the original signal gets buried. The body takes over. The distress response floods the system, and all you hear is the alarm, not the message underneath it. This is why so many mothers feel like they cannot tell what their baby needs. Not because the baby is not communicating, but because by the time the cry reaches its peak, the specific signal has already dissolved into general distress. So the skill is not learning to decode a screaming baby. The skill is learning to listen earlier. In those first few seconds of fussing, before the volume rises, before the tears start, that is when your baby is most clearly trying to tell you something specific. Pediatric researcher Dr. Harvey Karp, author of The Happiest Baby on the Block and one of the most cited voices in infant sleep and soothing research, has spent decades studying why some babies calm quickly and others do not. His conclusion points to something he calls the fourth trimester. The idea is straightforward. Human babies are born earlier than almost any other mammal relative to their developmental stage. A foal can walk within hours of birth. A human newborn cannot hold their own head up for months. This is because the human brain grows so large so fast that if babies stayed in the womb any longer, they could not be delivered safely. What this means for you as a mother is that your newborn arrives in the world expecting an environment that no longer exists. They spent 9 months in a place that was warm, tight, constantly moving, filled with the rhythmic sound of your heartbeat and the muffled rush of blood through your body. And then suddenly they are here, in open air, in silence, in space, with nothing pressing against them and no constant motion keeping them grounded. For a newborn brain, that transition is genuinely overwhelming. This is why the 5 S's that Karp identified, waddling, side or stomach position, shushing, swinging, and sucking, work so reliably to calm a distressed baby, not because they are tricks, but because they recreate the sensory environment the baby just left. They speak to the nervous system directly, before language, before reasoning, before anything the baby has yet learned about the world. Your baby is not being difficult. Your baby is not manipulating you. Your baby arrived in a world that feels nothing like the one they prepared for, and they are doing the only thing they know how to do. They are telling you. Developmental psychologist John Bowlby, whose attachment theory has shaped nearly every modern approach to infant care, argued that the cry is not just a signal of need, it is the foundation of the attachment bond itself. Every time your baby cries and you respond, something happens in the baby's brain. A connection forms, not just emotionally, but neurologically. The experience of crying and being answered, of need and response, is literally building the architecture of your baby's developing brain. The pathways that will one day help them self-regulate, manage stress, form relationships, and trust the world around them. All of that starts here with you at 2 in the morning when you come back into the room. Researchers at the University of Notre Dame, in a long-term study on parental responsiveness in infancy, found that babies whose cries were responded to consistently and promptly in the first months of life showed significantly better emotional regulation by the time they reached toddlerhood. Not because they were spoiled, because they were heard. You cannot spoil a newborn by responding to them. That idea, persistent as it is, has no basis in developmental science. What you can do, and what you are doing every single time you drag yourself out of bed and go to them, is build trust. You are teaching your baby that the world is a place where their needs get met, where someone comes, where they are not alone. That lesson, learned in the dark in the first weeks of life, will stay with them far longer than either of you will ever remember. So the next time your baby cries, before the panic sets in, before the guilt arrives, before the exhaustion makes everything feel impossible, pause for just a moment. Listen for the sound underneath the sound. Is it nasal and short? Feed them. Is it tired and round? Help them sleep. Is it agitated and breathy? Check their body. Is it low and grumbly? Work on the gas. Is it sharp and from the chest? Sit them up and pat their back. And if you have already passed the window, if the cry has already peaked, and all you can do is hold them and ride it out, know this: the holding is not nothing. The holding is everything. Your heartbeat against their chest, your voice in their ear, your warmth around their body. It is the closest thing to where they came from, and it is exactly what they are asking for. Your baby is crying, and now you know what they are saying.